You're listening to the World's Team Podcast. It's not just America's team, Cowboys Nation. It's the world's team. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Stewart and Mike Poland.
How about them Cowboys?
What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to the World's Team Podcast in partnership of the Believe Network. I am your host, Paul Stewart, and joined as always to my right is Mr. Mike Poland, and also joining on this week's episode is a really close friend of ours. We've known this gentleman for a good number of period of time. It's no other than Mr. Bryan Broaddus, the draft legend. How are we doing, Bryan? It's good to see you.
I'll tell you what, boys, it's so good to see your faces. I miss seeing you guys. I see from afar all the great work you guys are doing, and I'm so excited. I know in our little pre-show discussions that you guys are coming over for Thanksgiving, and I can't wait to see everybody in person. But it is always an honor to be on your guys' program.
Yeah, I mean, we go back a long time, Bryan. Like,
we go back. We stood in the rain together. Outside park. I tell you what, I had a chance. It's called the Crown Jewels, right? I skipped going to see the Crown Jewels so I could drink with you guys.
that sounds about right. Yeah.
So this guy, well, what did you see? What did you see in London? And I said, I met a lot of great people, and I was in a lot of pubs, and I didn't really see anything but the bottom of a glass.
That's true. And just in case anyone is not sure what we're referring to, we're talking about the London 2014 game where Dallas came over to play Jacksonville.
Over 10 years ago,
It's scary. Over 10 years, we've known each other now. And things have just kind of evolved since then. So many, and this is the one thing I love about football: the friendships you make more than anything.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. You guys, to me, my football background goes way back into the early '90s with NFL Europe and the original start. Yeah. So I could go back and talk about the London Monarchs with Stan Gilbaugh and all that stuff. And
you're talking about world here. You need to talk about my team, the Claymores.
Yeah, I mean, Stan and those guys, it's so funny. Like, they didn't even want to come back. Like, we were trying to get them into the league, into NFL camps. And Lockett and those guys are like, nah, man, we're staying over in London. They were heroes over there. I mean, these guys were like, I'll never forget, standing at old Wembley Stadium and the Moody Blues playing at the time, God Save the Queen. And I'm thinking, like, man, we're going to have football over here, like NFL football over here. So we're going to, and I just kept thinking, it's so cool because initially the fans in Europe, we had Barcelona, was in Frankfurt, was another team.
Yep.
And the fans were so cool. But it was just kind of it was just getting started. We were just getting started with, like the grassroots programs and stuff. And so, you could run Stan Gilbaugh out there then. You run Stan Gilbaugh out in front of a London crowd now, they would boo him off the field. It's just the fact that the passion that the European fan has for NFL football is like, it's just like the questions I get, or I'm like, damn, they know more football than me, and I've spent my life doing this. So it was like to be a part of NFL Europe and see, and I do believe with all my heart, I really, really do believe. And I know the Jacksonville Jaguars are like the kind of the adopted team.
Yeah.
There's going to be a team, a London team. There's just the fan base, the market. I know you guys, and here you've got, I know because we're all you're Cowboy fans, but I could see the NFL, the games are too good. The fan bases there are too smart. They know the quality of play. They know, I mean, it's impressive where we started with, like I say, with the London Monarchs, and the Barcelona Dragons that first year, to now where, where like it's you guys take it in so much,
Yep.
and you just become just passionate, smart fans. Like we can't fool you anymore. All those years ago, we could have fooled you, but we're not going to fool you anymore.
I'll give you a good example. Even playing video games like Madden or college football, like I'll go on the microphone and I might be playing someone from, I don't know, from Atlanta, Georgia, or something.
Yeah, right.
It's like
bad accent. Yeah.
They'll just like, oh, you don't know anything about football. Why did you buy this game?
Yeah.
Ended up putting a 50 burger on the guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, like we always say it though, Bri, that you guys over in Frisco, Dallas, we say it many times, all the time, that like we are the knowledge that we have and like the respect of the game and the understanding is from you guys. Because like you imagine in the UK, our like we're quite limited because the sport, although in the UK and in Europe it's big, you think it's not dominated in the media like say soccer or rugby or tennis or cricket. So it kind of gets pushed down in the rankings, so to speak. So we get a limited amount of access in terms of media. So like the stuff like that you guys do is like really what helps. And like we are sometimes probably to your annoyance, we're asking questions and we're just like, what's this? What do you think it is? And, I get bombarded with questions,
especially from Mike.
The thing about it is, I just remember when I was there in 2014. And I know we'll get into with the current team, and so I'm just telling stories here because I haven't seen you guys in forever. So thank you, allow me for doing this.
No, but you for coming on.
I just remember like in 2014, the amount of questions, and it's like, well, hey, what are they thinking about at third wide receiver? What are they thinking about at tight end? Hey, backup tackle situation doesn't look good. And I'm going, they're asking, and I was telling, I remember Nick and Helmet on everybody there. I just remember like talking about it in a way of like, I'm like, damn, they're asking questions about the third damn tight end. They're asking questions about the tackle, the backup tackles, it's amazing how far that it's come, and just the overall knowledge. And you guys give us credit. We need to give you credit because you guys, you just want to learn so much. You want to learn for a part of the world that didn't grow up on American football like I did.
Yeah.
Just the want to know more about it is so impressive. I'm talking men and women both. It's just not, it's just when I was there and I'm like, I just kept going back to the hotel and thinking, damn, they know a lot of football. They know so much, and they want to learn football. And you guys are smart at football, really smart.
I'm really glad that you mentioned the men and women, because even
absolutely, the women.
Because even here, like especially here in the UK, even participating in amateur American football, the popularity has grown. Like a lot of people have transitioned from the rugby side of things to try something new, and they think, "Oh, I'll give American football a try," and they realize it's like this is a lot of fun. And plus it gives them that more base understanding. Okay, what does first and 5 mean, and what is an offside in terms of that?
Why does it come back and restart?
How did
it's crazy? Yeah, it's crazy that you're right, Paul. Just the participation, and like I say, I'll never forget walking to the stadium. We were staying right there by the Wembley, and walking with Derek Eagleton and Nick Eatman and those guys, and just seeing all the different jerseys and the different people, and then it was so cool for that aspect that like just how much the fan base had embraced the game, and the fact that the Cowboys were there made it even crazier, because as you're watching the game, I'm sitting in what's the press box, like not in a press box up above. I'm sitting in the stands. The press box is in the stands.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember just how loud, and how knowledgeable, and like I say, is there a chance we heard? I mean, they haven't made the announcement. Was there a chance that the Jets and Cowboys could play? They announced?
It's topsy-turvy right now. We
okay.
are. I would say it's about a 40% chance. It just really depends how the schedule is, but I do know based on conversations with NFL UK, and basically with the NFL international program, they really want Dallas to host Mexico. That's a given.
Okay, well then that makes a lot of sense. To me, it's like I really do respect the Hispanic fans as well. I just remember,
and it's a huge Cowboys fan.
Oh, it's a huge, and Jerry Jones, he's got that. But to me, I'll never, ever, ever forget. And I've been a part of Super Bowls and NFL championship games and stuff. I will never forget the experience that I had that day in London. Never forget.
We will never forget it as well, Chris. Before we do go on, we're talking about recent Cowboys, but I will say, one of my best moments about that weekend as well is I got to meet Danny White. I got to meet him, which was a big surprise. No one expected him to be there in London, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's Danny White!" And having a conversation. Got to meet you, Brian. Got to meet, I remember the conversation I had with Derek Eagleton, and this was the whole Adrian Peterson conversation. It's like he was asking me the questions, like, "Should we bring in Adrian Peterson?" I was like, "If the money's right, then yes." And he was okay, so you know about the cap.
We've come a long way. We've come a long way since Stan Gilbaugh and training there. Yeah, exactly.
But I know I can remember asking Emmett Smith the funniest question ever. I was just like, just a quick one, Emmett. I was like, what's it like to get tackled by a 300-pound guy? He's like, a guy your size, I'd say you're probably better off something a bit lighter, like table tennis. I was like, all right, cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Absolutely.
You just actually jogged my memory. Like the day before the game, there was the whole fan rally thing.
It was huge.
Yeah.
We were staying at that. I believe it's a Hilton. That we were staying right there on the grounds.
That's right. It is. It is the Hilton.
And we literally walked out the hotel, took a left, and the stadium was right there. I mean, literally walked 100 yards.
That's
right there on the grounds.
Because and Mike, I'm glad you just reminded me, because at the fan rally, Michael Irvin and Emmett Smith were on stage, and that was when I had my number 22, and I always remember there's a video of it on my Instagram, and all you hear is Emmett saying, "Hey, I like your Deuce jersey," and I was like, "Oh, thanks, man! You're acting like a big school kid." So I was just pure starstruck. I got to speak to Emmett and Michael Irvin, so that was a dream come true for me. But yes, folks. Obviously, we've got our special guest here, Bryan Broaddus. We're obviously going to get Brian's reaction to the NFL draft, and obviously, with now rookie camp is among us, and talk about the undrafted free agents. So, but let's just start off and get straight into it. So, Brian, how would you assess the Cowboys NFL draft this year?
Yeah, it's funny, Paul and Mike, that we all were talking, and I'm sure your shows were doing the same thing. There was a lot of talk about McMillan. There was a lot of wide receiver talk, a lot of Golden, a lot of talk about, okay, is it Golden, Abuka? Is it, what wide receiver? Cowboys got to get a receiver. Cowboys, and I even have to apologize. I have to apologize to the folks that listen to our programs, because I know I've been on a lot of platforms where I myself talked about McMillan. I talked about Abuka. I talked about Golden. I talked about Burton. A lot of wide receiver talk. But what happened is, as we're talking about wide receivers, the Cowboys were talking about the best players on the board.
Yeah,
that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
They weren't focused as much as we were thinking McMillan, that wide receiver crew. They were thinking about and talking to some folks after the draft. They knew that McMillan wasn't going to be there. And remember when we started this whole drafting process, it was Ashton Jeanty. They're going to take a run. Ashton Jeanty. And I knew damn good
Luther Burden was the other name.
And I'm sitting there going, guys, the more that I study these players, Ashton Genty is one of the best 3 players in this draft, regardless of position.
Yeah.
So it kept getting mocked to Dallas at 12. Ashton Genty, and I'm like, this ain't happening. Not the way the top 10 of that board's looking right now.
He wasn't getting past
It wasn't. And so then all of a sudden, teams started like, I was talking with some teams. It's like, boy, it's McMillan. This is a couple weeks before the draft. McMillan, boy, he looks this and that. There's questions and this, that. Everybody was talking about him. And then I started to think about, I started hearing teams ahead of Dallas that really liked McMillan.
Yeah.
You started to, I was talking to guys in New England. I was talking to the guys at the Raiders. I was talking to, to the guys at the Saints and, everybody. The one team I didn't talk to was Carolina, who ended up taking the guy, but see, I think we were talking about it so much. And you asked me, Paul, my assessment. Dallas knew going in that McMillan probably wasn't going to be there. It was a dream if he was. So they set their board up. If he was there, likely McMillan's a pick. But they set their board up in a way that the wide receivers weren't like tags touching. So if it was McMillan and's gone, Golden's next guy, or Burton's the next guy. They had space. The way they set up their board and with Booker and others in between, it was real simple for them. Their stack was okay. It likely was McMillan gone. Who's the next one? Booker. And so was it a surprise? No, because I know talking to enough people and then talking to teams that there was probably going to be a gap between where they had McMillan and where they had their next best wide receiver. So, I started to hear things too about, well, they really like Booker. They really like Booker a lot. And, he's the best guard, this, that, and the other. And he plays right. He can play right guard. He can play left guard. You play him. It's kind of fits what they needed. And so that part of it, initially I was like, cool, they're drafting their board. Then it gets down to the second round.
Yeah.
And you're like going, now wait a minute, they're holding on. If you talk to them, they're holding on Burton and they're holding on Junkins, the running back. They're kind of hoping that maybe that, but all of a sudden, boom, boom, both guys gone. Ezaraku was the next guy on their board. So they draft him. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, okay, now I see what's going on here.
We had the exact same reaction.
And then it's Revel, and then Revel. And then you're going, okay, they're not just drafting need here. They're not just going to sit there and hammer 3 need picks in a row. They're they're drafting their board. And we had on day 3, we had the chance to visit with some of their scouts. Ross Winchie, their national scout, came through. Yeah. And I asked Ross, I said, you just took your board, didn't you? He says, yeah, we really did. We set it up, and whatever player was there, we took. Now, you could maybe get away with that a little bit because Dallas had so many needs. They needed a guard. They needed a corner. We didn't see the pass rusher. As part of this, but he was too good of a player to pass at that time. So
because when you really think about it, and this is I'll be honest, Brian, initially my reaction to Tyler Booker wasn't so much in the positive light at first, but after a good night's sleep, after 4 o'clock in the morning,
and then we talked you down off the shelf.
Yeah, after thinking about it, I was like, okay.
Who did you want, Paul? Who were you hoping for?
I did want McMillan. I did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to kind of take my skill position and think logically and think okay, what makes perfect sense? So I was like, okay, Booker is a need. He can play the guard. That he's got amazing leadership qualities, which has been proven through his whole interview process. I've been very impressed with Tyler Booker, how he's been conducting himself. Just even with his interview when he had with Micah Parsons on Bleacher Report, I was like, okay, that got me fired up. That really did. and I was like, okay, right. I'm so then I started went back, watched the film of him. I was like, because I know a lot of people kind of rely on like the RAS scores and stuff like that.
Oh
like,
yeah, they hated him on that. They hated him. Gosh.
Yeah, but I was like,
I brought him down a lot, I think.
Like I was like, okay, right. So I was like okay, let me have an wee look here and see what Jerry and Schottenheimer are looking at here. And I was like, right, okay. His run blocking, he doesn't stop moving his feet. He knows how to drill a person down to the ground. Big nasty attitude when he's in the O-line. He's a commander. He was a captain of like within Alabama. Like I was just like, okay, I can get behind that if he can actually replicate that. And even when he was doing post-draft, when he was interviewed, it's like, do you tend to be like Zach Martin? Says, no, I'm going to be Tyler Booker. I'm going to be my own person. I was like, great answer. I was like, okay, you want to make a name for yourself, like, and solidify that. So I was really happy. But going back to the defensive end side, we were buzzing when we heard it was Donovan Isaraku. We were like, whoa, just came out of nowhere.
It did. It really did.
Like and to the point.
But ironically, we were on another show before the draft went live, and if you remember, on that show we started talking about pass rushes, and he was one of the names that we brought up. And ironically, because we drafted one of our mocks. And we were talking about it, and everybody dismissed the idea. They were like, and they were like Isaraku, and we mentioned it. We was like, well, what about somebody like Isaraku? And they were like, yeah, we get the idea, but nah, and it was just it was swiftly passed on the idea. That's how many people just thought of the edge position.
Right.
Yeah, but when you look back to last year, Sam Williams went out. We lost Dante Fowler the year before. Nealand went out. DeMarcus Lawrence was missing. Micah Parsons was out. It was a crazy period for defensive line. Even and the underperforming of Mazzie Smith, etc. The only person that seemed to stay healthy was Carl Lawson, who did a great job filling in. I was like, when you think about it, we've got it's a sneaky need in some regard. So
it really is.
And I'll tell you what, though, if there's one thing I'm excited for, if we're like 3rd and 10. Parsons one end and Isaraku on the other. Oh boy, that's going to be exciting to watch. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, it is, and too with what with Osa, what he's been able to do inside too as well. That might be something that you really, you kind of get a lot of play at. So I was wondering, Mike, tell me, it did take. You said you had to talk him off the ledge. Was it a couple of days? Later?
No. He was all right. He came off the ledge as soon as he'd slept.
I worry a little bit about Paul. Paul, I can see Paul getting a little emotional and taking his pen. Taking his pen, throwing it and getting upset.
There was a pen toss. And Paul wears his emotional.
Why would you take a damn guard?
That was it. That was it. It wasn't so much the pick of the play; it was the position. And Paul likes to wear his emotional, his draft emotions on his sleeve on draft.
Yeah. It's so funny when you say that. It's so funny, but I'm with Paul because I was one of these guys that when you work so hard on this, and we all, when we do these shows, we want them to take our players. We want them to take the guys that we talk about. And then when they don't, we get so mad at them. We're like, who's Jerry? What's he? You just get so upset and all that.
The irony is, on my draft board, I put this is Isaraku on my board is ranked higher than Booker. They're very, very close.
If you flip them around.
You flip them around and you kind of like.
It's funny. I'm the same way, Mike. If you take my 235 players to stack, actually I have Revel at 12, and then Isaraku at 25, and then Booker at 37. So they drafted in reverse order of where I was looking at. I'm like, all right, they just took my 37th best player. Me personally, I liked Jackson, and it wasn't because of the RAS scores. It was because if this team was going to be pin and pull and get guys out in space and all that, I felt like Jackson from Ohio State had a little bit more of that to him. I don't think Booker could kick out and play left tackle. I think Jackson.
He's a pure guard.
But anytime both players are right there. I mean, it wasn't huge, but I was thinking okay, if you're going to play with athletes, if you're going to try, But the thing, like I said, when we got a chance to talk with Clayton Adams, the coach, on the third day, they're talking like, listen, hey, in Arizona, we did pin and pull because we had pin and pull guys. If we don't have pin and pull guys, we're not going to do pin and pull. And I'm like, now I get it. I get it. So they're not coming in trying to force, okay, we're going to be an outside zone, or we're going to be inside zone, or we're going to be man scheme or gap scheme, or all these things, all these blocking things you could do. It's like, hey, we're going to come in and determine where we're the best at. And I was thinking, okay, they're going to come in and try and force some pin and pull and some outside stuff and all that. And it might not be the way with the runners. Now, Blue can get the ball to the edge and around.
Yes.
He can do that. We saw him, you and I, all of us saw him do that at Texas. Yeah. But like you say, the lineman for Booker, not that he can't play in space, but it's just not he is good just coming off the ball and like hammering guys, getting in them and just, moving them and then turning them and then allowing the backs.
He's got some combo to him. He's got some combo.
He does. Absolutely does. Absolutely does.
I just love I just love the idea of like him and Cooper Beebe doing like a combo block. I'm like, god, defensive tackles are going to have a nightmare. And I love the fact he's actually opened the challenge to Carter from the Eagles. He's like, I cannot wait to play against Carter for the Eagles, and I was just like. I was like, okay, he's setting himself a high bar here. So I love that drive from him. So, but and
this division is really good. The guy at the Giants, the guys at the Commanders. That's you got to be good in.
So our own thing. This is my board, so it's kind of like a little bit selfish in a way. But I don't think they took a wide receiver. In my thought, when Jaden Higgins came off at pick number 34 in the draft, I went and checked because I was like, I wonder if there's something to this. And on my board, I doubt very much they're using my board, that's for sure. But on my board, it works out.
They might have. You never know, Mike. They might have used your board.
No, trust me, it's all over the shop. It's very colorful, which is nice. I like colors. But
mine's colorful too.
Yeah, but Jaden Higgins' score on my board was so I've given him a draft score of 84.33, and when I went back, Jonathan Mingo's is not that far off that. So my theory is once that came off, when Higgins came off their board, they went, well, Mingo's potential is really not that far off Higgins. Higgins is gone, so really. Any wide receiver we take beyond this is really of lesser caliber than what we've already got in terms of potential.
And just
my board, it works.
And I do want to say as well, Mike, like I think the criticism on Mingo is completely unjustified because when you think about it, from last year,
buried in the Panthers, I guess.
Yeah, like he was buried in the Panthers. We got him halfway through the season. He was paired up with Cooper Rush, a backup quarterback. Never really worked with Dak Prescott. He had to learn a new playbook, didn't really get much receptions, and yet we're trying to throw him underneath the bus. It's like, let's give him a fresh start.
Okay.
I'm on Turpin for wide receiver 2 now, though, by the way. I've heel turned. Yeah.
I think this is what's going to happen here, boys. I'm just going to give you a little insight. Ready?
Okay.
Hit us with it.
You guys are going to tweet this out that I was on your show with you, right?
Yeah.
This will be the short clip, by the way. This will be the short clip.
And I'm going to retweet it. Get ready for the comments about all the Mingo negativity.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, how could you say this? Paul, what are you trying to do? Are you caping for Jerry here? What are you guys doing over there? I'm just telling you. I mean, what you guys have done is absolutely a very logical, thought out thing. And I'm acknowledging that. But anytime you say, and I'm the guy that always goes, listen, Mingo hadn't had a guy throw him a ball since he was at Ole Miss when he was at Mississippi.
That's
but
true.
I mean, Carolina, I mean, you got
exactly.
Cooper Rush, and he hadn't had anybody, But we knew that Jerry and Steven, and I kind of predicted this, and I know you guys follow along.
Yeah.
I said this. I go, they're going to sell us on Mingo. They're going to say, and we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. And I'm with you guys. I'm like, listen, they thought that high of him grade-wise. That kind of seems to be a trend right now, whether it's Trey Lance or Mingo. It seems to be, well, we had a second-round grade, high second-round grade. Yeah. We gave a fourth-round pick, and everybody's like going, God, stop it. Stop giving the fourth-round pick. But I do agree with you guys on this. I will die on that hill with you guys on this one because I do feel like I say, I would have loved them to grab a wide receiver. I don't think they're out of the wide receiver market. By the way.
I agree.
I think they're still going to. But it'd been nice to grab one of those guys. I love Royals from Utah State.
And
all that. Yeah. So but that's when you Mike, when you make, or Paul, when you make the Mingo argument and you try and talk about it that way, people immediately go, no. The
emotions come in.
Yeah, everybody, they like you no, you're not, and I'm interested. I'm interested with Dak throwing him the ball. If we get to Oxnard and it doesn't look right and all that, hopefully they've went out and got somebody else. But I knew they were going to sell us on the Mingo, and we've got to get Flournoy playing better, and Adams, and we got to get I knew this was coming because the minute they don't want to draft one or they don't draft one, well, it's like Rico Dowdle last year. It's like it gets to a certain level of the draft with the running backs, and you're like, well, we didn't want to draft that back because he wasn't better than Rico Dowdle.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, okay, Rico's fine, but you can't tell me you couldn't add another guy to the mix. So, I mean, but both your opinions about it, I think, is fine. Just get ready when I retweet it. The comments, for once, they're going to light you guys up and not light me up, okay? Just get ready.
Mate, I've got the skin of a rhino. Don't worry.
I'm just talking simple logic behind it. I'm just stating facts.
Oh, Jerry Jones loves you right now. Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Will McClelay, they love you. They love you for your Mingo logic, where everybody else is out there is like, Paul, take that kind of talk and, get the hell out of here.
Shove it.
That's not the first time, Brian.
No, that's what I'm saying. You're right. You guys, we've all done this long enough to where the comments just get, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to read them anymore. I'm just not.
Yeah, we've learned that the hard way.
My theory is post and ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So obviously, like we kind of talked about Izaraku and Booker, but I was really like because I remember when Kyle Yeomans was talking, I think it was on the draft show, and he made the tweet about it. Savon Revel was your round 2 guys to watch. I was like, I don't know about round 2 because of the injury history. I know he's a great.
I feel better about this.
But I agree. But when we got him in the 3rd round, I was like, okay, I feel so much comfortable.
That's bad.
Because obviously he's worked with the medical staff in Dallas. He had a brilliant year last season. And obviously, his second year with East Carolina really set the world on fire. And again, there's a common theme with our first 3 picks: leadership qualities, great locker room guys. I was like, okay, I'm see what Schottenheimer's trying to do here. He is trying to bring that kind of
blue collar players.
Yes, So I was like, okay, I see what you're doing here, Brian. But I'm liking it. Like we're trying to make things better, more getting behind everyone in the team rather than one person being solo per se. So I understand what the theme was going here, and even with the later round picks, there's one later round pick I would love to talk about as well. But Savell,
I think with Revel, he was my. And I'm privy to not all the injury information. I knew he got hurt. I knew I talked to some people about him. There were several of the corners I had in the 1st round. Him, Morrison at Notre Dame.
My board.
Yeah, there were a ton of them. God dang, it was just hard. But you sort them all out. But he was the top guy for me. If he doesn't get hurt, and I know this is one of those things. If he doesn't this, he doesn't that. If he doesn't get hurt, he's likely the first corner off the board. He's got that kind of ability, that kind of I think the thing, and you mentioned it, Paul, with Dr. Dan Cooper doing the surgery for the Cowboys, it was just a matter of like, okay, when do you feel comfortable taking it? As a matter of fact, I talked to some people in the organization yesterday about him. I'm like, hey, what do you think? And they're like, listen, this kid's come in. He's willing to work. He wants to get right. He wants to be on the field. I would not bet against this kid being ready for the season. He goes, and I'm like, so like training camp maybe? He goes, oh no, absolutely. He goes, we could get this kid right. So we'll see how it all plays out, as right now. But there's a lot of positivity about him, the work ethic, and the fact that he's going to be working with Britt Brown, who is one of the best rehab guys in the National Football League. When it comes to getting players back on the field, Britt is one of the best. And so that's going to help. The best thing, and I was talking to some guys around the league that know Britt, and they were saying, listen, the best thing that could have happened to that kid was he got drafted by Dallas. Because Dr. Cooper will take care of him, Britt will take care of him, and the kid will take care of himself. So hopefully that'll all work out for everybody. They're going to need him to play. They're going to need him to play.
Oh, 100%. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right now.
Yeah. Especially with like what is going on with Trayvon Diggs. It's like we had guys on from Dallas. We've had a few guys on that come on, and they've said Dak and Sam Williams look like they're ready to go. The biggest question mark medically on this team is Trayvon Diggs. They're just like, we have no idea. And I'm just like, oof. And this was before the draft we were getting this. So like, quarterback's a huge need then.
Yeah, last year at this time, I was starting to hear that Diggs had not attacked his rehab very aggressively. Yeah. And there was some thought that maybe that Al Harris, the secondary coach, coddled the player and kind of kept him from, okay, hey, you don't have to, no, don't worry about it, you don't have to, And maybe that the coach kind of got in the way of that. And I was talking about it this time last year, just from what I heard. And, I was getting, you talk about the comments, Broaddus, you don't know, damn it, you don't work there, you don't know the player. And I'm just saying, listen, guys, I used to live in that building. I worked there for 14 years. Not just 1, 2, 3, 4. There's several people I can go talk to and kind of figure these things out. Yeah. And so when I say that, I'm not just saying it to be mean to Diggs, but in actuality, he didn't attack his rehab like he did. And so let's fast forward to this year. We get Jerry Jones to say he didn't attack his rehab like he should. And that's stuff we talked about a year ago. So hopefully we'll see, as they say, fingers crossed, that he in fact has a little bit more diligence and a little bit more determination and drive, not to wait till the end of the summer to get stuff done, but in fact to make sure that it's taken care of. Now he has a thought of sometimes of just going away. He gets away, and so if you're going to get this thing done the right way, you need to commit to being there every single day. And these players have other interests. I'm not saying that they should not, but when it comes to your livelihood and your ability to earn a living, you need to be your absolute best. And maybe going away for 2 weeks, it puts you behind. That's something I can't say would be very, very good right now.
Yeah, totally. But also, what we've also done in the draft, we drafted 2 running backs as well. We also picked up Jaden Blue from Texas, we just briefly mentioned, and also Phil Mafa from Clemson, which I love that pick when that announced. I was like, I was like, at least we've got an absolute powerhouse of a running back that can actually fit, plug in and play. And the way you describe it, Mike, is like you've got your thunder and lightning effect with this type of running back drill, similar to like with Williams and Sanders in some way.
Yeah, no, I think to me there's like I was holding on a couple of different guys with Mafa. I understand why they drafted Mafa. Yeah. And here we go back to the selfish side, because they don't care what my board says. We were
the same. We had different running backs.
The last time they cared about what I thought was in 2005. That's the last time they cared about what I thought about. But I was kind of thinking about Allen from Syracuse. I was thinking about Krosky Merritt to New Mexico to Arizona. That's kind of I was thinking about kind of that back. I know they were the back from Miami was
Martinez.
That's who we.
That's the guy I would love to have had.
Yeah, I don't think they liked that Martinez like we did. I was talking about, and then I had somebody come up to me and say, we weren't a fan of his. We just weren't a fan. And so I'm like, okay. But I was hopeful that, I was hopeful that you could pair. I would have loved if they would have just signed Rico Dowdle and then drafted Blue. And that would have been
problem solved
for me. Problem solved. Now we'll see what happens with Williams, who really he catches the ball well, he blocks well. We'll see if Sanders still has anything left in the tank. I have my doubts.
I think he's getting cut.
Yeah. We'll see. But I would have gone, like I said, Blue, and Mafa is. You're right though, Paul. That's a guy. He's a hammer. It's a hand the ball straight downhill. It's not any.
That's your red zone. That's your red zone threat right there. If we're like third and short in the red zone, best believe it. You put Tyler Booker in your O line and you run it right down the middle with Phil Mafa. He's a goal scoring machine when it comes to the red zone.
That's probably. There were a lot of times where you watch that Clemson tape and that thing would break open. I mean, they did a good job, and he'd hit it and he'd go. But it's when he kind of tried to dance around and stuff that's not as good. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see how Phil Mafa how he plays out on this one. But the selfish guy that I am when it comes to scouting, I wanted Allen, Krosky Merritt, Martinez. Those were the guys I was kind of like, okay, if you're gonna pick one of these guys. And they picked Mafa, and I went, okay, all right. I wasn't like, and I hope I'm way wrong about the guy, but man, I saw a couple other guys. I was like, and I we all do. We get selfish. We want them to draft the guys that we like. We really do.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. Yeah. Good job by Will McClay, man. That Will McClay, And now I was like, and they went around the room. What did him offer? We'll see. I've got Krosky Merritt. And Krosky Merritt goes the next pick to the Commanders. So now I'm sitting there thinking like, damn, I got to maybe watch this guy carry the ball for the Commanders.
Yeah, against
you. No, not
even with the Giants with Cam Scatterbo right now, you're like, we need to watch that.
Yeah, they got a guy there. He can throw passes too. But I was saying that this draft, you just mentioned Will McClay. When we were talking about it, new coaching staff, I think Jerry Jones is trying to make a statement of, because you look at free agency, very different in their approach. So I think this is Jerry going, let's try and prove to everyone I was right about getting Schottenheimer as head coach. And then I think this draft I think they kind of gave the reins to Will McClay, because this has a feel of a very Will McClay type draft.
I think that, Mike, that you're really I think you're onto something. I know when I walked in the studio in day 2 and the draft camera happened to be on, it happened to be showing the room. God, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this story. But because everybody who's going to listen,
I don't want to get you into trouble,
No, I mean, but I walked in there and I sat there and I watched Will McClay. Now I can't hear the audio. I can't.
Yeah.
But what I did was I saw Will McClay standing behind his chair, and I saw Stephen Jones standing to his right, and it was just Stephen, Will, and Brian Schottenheimer was down by the board. As you look at the screen, like on DallasCowboys.com, to the left side of the screen was that. And so I'm watching Will McClay talk with his hands. He's doing, he's giving it this, and he's basically telling Shoddy, I believe, that like, okay, our guys could fall. It could fall this way, or And I think that Will did have a lot of influence. I think that Brian Schottenheimer, for him, Jerry Jones. My experience of sitting in a draft room with Jerry Jones is that he does give the head coach a lot of latitude. He does. The head coach wants to have an opinion. Bill Parcells wanted an opinion. Dave Campo, not so much. Guys, guys that, there's certain guys in that room. Jason Garrett wants his opinion. Chan Gailey gives his opinion, but he's telling you that, wait, hey, we shouldn't draft Randy Moss, that kind of thing. So you're like, damn, don't let him talk anymore. But that's kind of where we're at right now. With these coaches want to, and you got to prove yourself in there. You really got to prove yourself in there. I think Bryan shot a really nice shot, but to your point, Mike, I think that Will McClay, I think he had a big say in this one. Let's go back to when he in the pre-draft press conference, he talked about getting players that love football.
Yeah,
he probably feels like the last 2 drafts he has drafted 2 first-round players that don't love football.
True.
He probably he probably feels like that. Well, we'll see with Mozzie. Mozzie got better, but we'll see with Guyton, maturity issues, things like that. But when he made that point, I was thinking, who's the guy that loves football the most that's going to be on that board? That's who Will's going to take first.
I'm so glad you just mentioned Mozzie, because the pick that I really want to talk about is our 7th rounder, Jay Toya. Like if I was Mozzie Smith right now, I'd be scared in terms of the security of my starting role as the defensive tackle, as your one tip right now. Because when you watch back the footage of Jay Toya at UCLA, I would I would love to hear your opinion on this, but I believe Jay Toya was the main reason why Carson Schlesinger was also that. It made him make all those tackles, eating up all those double teams, securing, open up the A gaps, the B gaps, to solidify, for the linebackers and any defensive ends that are pulling back inside. Toya was an instrumental part of that defensive line, and for of Mozzie, the way, me personally, if I was a player in Mozzie's shoes, is they brought a 7th rounder. I'm not going to let no 7th rounder take my spot. No chance. So I hope there's a bit of motivation from Mozzie's end to get him back up to the point where he needs to perform.
Yeah, I think there's, Mozzie, I will say this, when he was selected, it was, I think that Will McClay, and there's a very famous clip of Will McClay before the Cowboys pick. They were talking about Mozzie. They were talking about Bergeron, the guard.
Yeah.
And Fantastic. You could see Will is talking about Mozzie, and he's bringing him up. And I think he did that one. I think he drafted Mozzie for Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn really wanted.
Yeah.
I think he wanted Mozzie. But Mozzie was a 329-pound 2-gap player,
Definitely.
And then all of a sudden, Mozzie, when you're 2-gap, you're you extend, as we know, you extend, you look inside, you look outside. You're not playing quick. You're not playing. You're reading. You read. Read here, and then go. And so they wanted him to play upfield, and I think they misevaluated his ability. They thought that he could be an upfield player. Yeah. And so what did Mozzie Smith do? He loses a ton of weight to make himself trying to be quicker. Where no, Mozzie, we need you at 329. We don't need you at 303. We don't need you. And so, but I think Mike Zimmer, Jeff Zugina last year, they tried to put their arm around Mozzie. He's a very sensitive guy. I mean, I remember talking to people who go in the locker room after games. Cowboys winning the game, and Mozzie's over in the corner with tears in his eyes because he felt like he didn't play, well, or he knew that it was a struggle for him, or he didn't get on the field nearly enough. He played well against the division opponents. I've been on a lot of platforms.
The Giants in particular.
You watch the Giants, you watch the Commanders, you watch the Eagles. He played well in those division games. That's encouraging. But he needs to put more of it together back to back to back. Now, we'll see with Jay Toya what he does. Toya 342, mammoth, hard to move.
Yeah.
But where people get him is the wider they run, the harder it is for him to get over there. So, what do you do when you play, when you play that beat down there in Tampa? When you back in the day, Haloti Ngata, those guys.
Yeah.
When you play those big old guys, you don't run the ball at them. You run the ball a little bit wider, and that's what you try to block the edges and stuff. So, I think that Mozzie does need to play at a very, very high. I mean, he needs to have the type of training camp where he's healthy, he's playing every rep, and he's competing. And maybe Jay Toya will be that guy that kind of pushes him along. Because if Mozzie doesn't play well, Mozzie's going to go the way of some of the others, the Tristan Hills.
I was just about to mention Tristan Hill. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to see. It's just okay. Well, that was a bad pick. That was a bad pick. So Mozzie needs to definitely. I think he's picked up his game, but he needs to kind of take it to another level there.
Third year, always the third year for me on offensive and defensive linemen.
Hopefully. Yeah,
fingers crossed. So obviously, we also in the NFL draft we picked up Shamar James, the linebacker from Florida, Johnny Cornelius, offensive line from Oregon, and finally Tommy Akinbisote for the defensive tackle from Maryland. So obviously, I can't. Me personally, I thought that the Tommy pick, our last pick, I was like, it's not really like he was more of a backup in Maryland, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. No, you got it right.
Rotational. rotational.
Yeah, so it was hard to really kind of put much assessment. I think it was just like what was best available at the time of all
trades.
Trades. Yeah. So I totally understand, but the Shamar James one kind of interests me. I'll be honest. And I think the Cornelius one. I mean, again, we're just adding more depth to the O-line because I remember
so many offensive linemen this year.
I'm a happy man. Man. Like, you can never have enough.
Being an offensive lineman yourself, I can imagine why.
Oh yeah, definitely. but if you were to go over the whole overall draft, how would you grade it? Like, so for me and Mike, we kind of graded the overall draft as like a A-.
Yeah,
is that what so that's what we graded it overall as an A- this year.
Yeah, I would say I graded it a couple different ways, and it's not a fence riding thing with me. I kind of break down into where I think how they did it. I think they deserve an A for the execution of following the board. With the way they stacked their board. They stuck to it. They didn't dance around. They tried to maybe make some moves. They knew they didn't have a 4th round pick. Try and get a 4th round pick. I'm sure they fielded some calls, but you watch how they took their board, and they had really so many needs. So the way they set their board up, it's like, okay, take him. Where, like I said earlier in the program, it's like we're screaming for a wide receiver. We're screaming, and we're screaming for a running back. We're screaming for a defensive tackle. We're screaming for a corner, and all these things. But they took the board how it felt. I give them an A for the execution of the board. I think they really had a B kind of a draft, and I say that in a way of because the selfish side of me again is looking about maybe the runner. Was there something that you could have done different with the runner, the second runner? Was there something you could have done different with the offensive tackle from Oregon? Was it? I mean, there's a lot of people that like this guy, but is he more of is he a swing? Can he play guard? How strong? Now I'm always wrong about the guys that are really long that have no strength and then they play like 10 years. Yeah. So I'm always wrong about those guys. But I just wondered, like I say, with the back, the tackle, the back, and then maybe the defensive tackle. Could there have been another combination there? Could they have gone another route? We'll see. I love the first 4 picks. I absolutely and I will say this about the linebacker. I think he has a chance. Yeah. And I say that, but I don't see a very instinctual player.
Definitely
not. You know what I'm saying? I don't.
That's what you need as a linebacker.
Yeah, especially in that round. I mean, you're going to play special teams. You're going to.
There you go.
And he could probably do all that. He's kind of a straight line guy. He's a guy that tackles well, but he doesn't have great instincts. So you have to probably play him at the will linebacker, let him rush. That's one thing you could do. He's a
good
passer. But don't give him a lot of things to do. Just let him run to the ball.
Don't let him cover.
I always say this, Brian. Less is more. That's one of my favorite sayings.
That to me, if you're going to play him as a will, play him on the special teams, those kinds of things, I think that's got a real possibility. But like I said, I was the last 4 picks. I was kind of thinking, maybe this guy, maybe this guy, maybe. But we'll see. We'll see. But the first picks, I think adding Blue, they were on a heck of a run. And like I say,
and they haven't traded at all at that point either.
Yeah, A for the going on their board. I would have maybe gone with some a little bit different towards the back, but A for that. But at B overall, because like I say, the selfish scout in me wanted them to take other players, and we'll see if those work out.
Awesome. Okay, so what we'll do to finish off the show, obviously, we do need to quickly cover, obviously, with the undrafted free agents the Cowboys have acquired. So I would love to hear your thoughts about some of the players that kind of stood out to you in undrafted free agency, and obviously one particular player in terms of his signed contract, which I thought was quite interesting. Obviously, we're talking about Tayshawn Holden, the wide receiver from Oregon. But is there any players from the undrafted free agency that really stood out to you?
Yeah, no, I really did like I said, I think to me, there's a couple of, let me pull up my notes here for my guys, because like I say, there were a couple of guys that I really I thought like, okay,
Rivaldo Fairweather's interested.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. That's like I said. Let me grab my notes
as a red zone target. He's got this massive wingspan that's like 80, just shy of 84 inches, which is that's
absolutely
as the equivalent to John Jones, the UFC fighter's arm reach.
Oh wow, there you go.
Yeah. I think like 98 percentile.
Yeah, I was. To me, he's 6'4". I did the measurements I had him was 6'3", 242, and so I really liked this kid. I thought the build, I thought the kind of the rangy build for him.
Yeah,
I think I thought his hands were really good. I think he does a really good job. Auburn's quarterback, as we know, guys, we were looking at Auburn receiver this draft. Ball is all over the place. It's low, it's high, it's on the ground. I think his hand-eye coordination was really, really good. I think he's more of a straight line speed guy than like overall quickness. But you don't see a lot of routes. You don't see a lot. It's a lot of it is like inside.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like basic stuff. So you don't see
the Auburn style.
If you're watching like Ferguson, you're watching Ferguson from Oregon, you're seeing the crossing and you're seeing like a bunch of different combinations with these routes. Mason Taylor from LSU.
That Auburn spread offense is really what it was.
Oh no, this one is kind of a restricted to what he could do. But this guy tracks the ball. I think he's got body control. I think he can work along the sidelines. Like I say, I didn't see a lot of routes. I just don't.
No.
And so, but as a blocker,
a lot of seam routes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
You play him in line, but the inline being next to the tackle, but sometimes he's more flexed, or play wing.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw just kind of a get in the way blocker. I didn't see somebody that was putting his nose in there and then being able to drive. But he just doesn't have that pop or that surge to really move defenders off the ball. But
I mean, you're not asking him to wham the nose at all.
No. But there was a couple times you watched the Georgia game from 2023. They asked him to wham the end, and he got destroyed. And so, so that, you're like, maybe you're not asking. Let me tell you this, guys. I kind of had the John Stevens vibe.
I see where you're going.
It's funny that, it's funny you mentioned that.
I kind of had the John Stevens vibe because of tall, not a great blocker, but down the field, catch the ball, adjust. I kind of had a little bit. I can see why they liked this guy that way. Because
my comp for him was Juwan Johnson from New Orleans.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but I let you John Stevens. That's perfect.
No, I just was kind of thinking about because I'm thinking about a tall guy that kind of gets in and out of the routes and can catch the ball well. But I see why they went after this guy. So
red zone idea, it works a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, just kind of reiterating, even from the free agents we've done, the draft, and even with free agency, it's like we're catering the weakest points, which was inside run. We've got like defensive tackles in. We've got offensive line, like our running backs. It's like and also like a red zone. Like we brought in people that are quite effective in those areas. So we're actually it's not obvious to some people out there, like it's like, oh, we need a wide receiver. So, but we brought this guy in. It's going to fix one of the weakest point of our football teams in terms of offense. We brought in this guy. It's helping us with the weakest point of our defense.
A big basketball player as well. I'm just going on my notes with him. Big basketball player in high school. In Florida, but that's the thing is I think that's what is missing slightly that you see. You talk about the routes, Bri. I think that is down to the fact that he didn't start playing football until he was like nearly 17. So the instinct side of it all, because he was all about basketball, then he starts shifting over to football. So you think with the route running, the instincts and the natural feel of when to break and how to get into the stems quickly, I think that is going to come along with him.
It kind of reminds me of who we did years ago. There was another tight end.
Don't say it. Don't say the name.
I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name, to be fair. But
are you thinking of Rico Gathers?
That's the one. That's the one.
I did not want to say the name. So much heartbreak. So much heartbreak.
I know. But just to finish off, Brian, like I love to hear your thoughts about the contracts have been signed. Obviously, we talked. Obviously, Holden's the big one because obviously there's no guarantees with it.
Yeah, kind of crazy that way. But the way this works, and I always hated. Like after the draft, I was glad the draft was over, and then they got into free agency, and I was always like, "Please, just let me stay away," from all those things. But what if you're looking at the money, the way that the Cowboys, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go after the guys that are on their board that still have draftable grades. So like when the draft ends, the first area they're going to attack is they're going to attack their highest players on their draft. They will spend $257,000 on a player that might have a 5th round grade. They did it with the tight end from Minnesota. They did it with the safety from Syracuse. They will do that. And I'm interested when I get back or circle back around of how many of these guys were on their draft board, but I think the money will tell you who the guys were on the draft board. You just go down and look at it.
Yeah.
The guys they had to give the large bonuses to, I bet you those are the guys they had draftable grades. And
that makes the most
good job. They've done a good job of picking up free agents after the draft.
Oh yeah.
And having those guys fill in. I mean, maybe the most, we talk about Romo as one of the most famous ones. If you look at the longevity of what he did.
That was your guy.
Miles Austin was another one that played for a few years, but they've had their run of some guys that can help them out in free agency.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, because when you look at previous, like even the later rounds in the draft and undrafted free agents, we've had so much success when it comes to these diamonds in the rough per se. Warren Thomas, Stallone Bland in the 5th round.
Oh,
like
Ron Leary.
That's a great one. I didn't even realize that. Even like who knows? There could be some diamonds in the UFL as of right now. We're not even talking about yet.
They've done a good job. They've gotten two probably the best players. We talk about Turpin and the kicker. Holy jeez,
We're all about the Brandon Aubrey army.
Yeah. And with Justin Tucker gone now, you got to think Aubrey's up for that number 1 spot now.
There you go. It's amazing. Like it's amazing when they get to midfield. And I used to be the guy like to try to kick field goals. I'm like going, "Oh, you got to punt this ball." Zach Wolchek's like, "No, man, just get 3 more yards. Auburn's going to make a field goal." I'm like, still when they're kicking a 63-yard. That guy knocks the field goal home, and I'm like, God, I wouldn't have done that.
I'll tell you right now, Brian, see that Cleveland Browns game? We were thinking about going for the 70. I was losing my mind when they were about to do it. Then obviously they just changed my mind. I was so gutted because it was the perfect wind direction in terms of the flow. It really he could have well made that.
He's liable to make it. He was.
Oh man.
I've seen one before. One of my friends, and he was saying the two best things you've got going on right now are both from the UFL. You got Cavonte Turpin, who will catch the ball and run it upfield to set up a Brandon Aubrey field goal on your first.
Exactly. There you go.
Like, all right, I see you
go. You absolutely got to figure it out. Yep, sure do.
But yeah, Brian, it's been like we'll definitely close the end of the show for this episode. But it's been an absolute honor. Good to catch up with you, and yeah, we definitely need to get you back on board, and definitely need to see you in
man! I tell you what, hey,
we missed you
just
too much.
when I see that plus 444, and then a bunch of numbers behind it.
You definitely know that's Mike.
I know where that call is coming from. So yeah, it's all those fours and all that. I know exactly. But yeah, no, thank you guys so much. You guys have always been so great to me, so gracious as hosts, and just you guys do a heck of a job with your shows too. It's a real pleasure to be with you guys because it's entertaining, it's fun, and you got a great audience too. And best of luck to you guys going forward with your new adventure, with your new group and all that. It's very, very exciting there.
We're beyond excited to be part of the.
Don't F it up, boys. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, we certainly won't. Because
you'll learn this gig will pay a lot of bills if you do it well enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like the whole purpose of the World's Team, because obviously the moniker of the Cowboys is America's Team, and we want to kind of bring like Cowboys fans from all across the world to have them.
Wait. Brian was with us when that came up.
What?
It was on the draft. So it was on draft day, if you remember. And we came up with the World's Team when Stephen Jones was with us. And
and Stephen wanted to make a T-shirt out of it.
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, where's my?" I say, "I want my equity and my commission on this."
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Oh, but yeah, Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, boys.
To have
Appreciate
you on, man.
Yeah, let's do it again. And like I said, we'll do it before we got training camps and OTAs.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'll be happy to pop on with you guys. And then I can't wait to see you guys in November, and maybe we could do a show all together. How about that?
100%. We'll definitely keep that in check. But yes, folks. But yes, we'll be back next week. Hopefully with another special guest. We'll be covering more Dallas Cowboys football of another. But as always, here at the World's Team, it's not just America's Team, it is the World's Team. We'll see you guys next time.
That's a wrap on the World's Team Podcast. Smash that like button and hit subscribe, Cowboys Nation. This ain't just America's team, it's your team. Touchdown! It's the World's Team, only on Believe, where real fans live.
How about them Cowboys?